think we'll start. It's only 17. So, as usual, we start with 2 minutes of silence to quieten our mind, gather our thoughts, and
Vinod,
then we.
maybe we can or you can go off video because you're breaking up. Seems to be some bandwidth issues.
Apart from the network is a little, so I'll keep it off last time. And I
May
just also.
Vinod, you're still breaking up. May I request everyone can go off video for a little while? We'll see how it works.
So if everyone can switch off the video, maybe it'll save the bandwidth.
Yeah, now we can hear you clearly, Vinod. So that's the way
Okay.
to go.
Okay. So, as I said, we will start with 2 minutes of silence to gather our thoughts, quieten our mind, and then we'll start with a prayer. Hri Om. Om Nam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Sam Saraswate Namaha. Om Sahana Bhavatu. Sahano Bhunaktu. Sahaviryam Karavavahai. Tejasvinavadhitamastu. Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Sorry on to you all again. So, last time we completed the topic of who is God. And today we'll start with what is the world. But before that, I had suggested last time if there are any questions, you could post the questions on the chat and we could discuss those. So 2 questions came through, one from Revati and one from Arun. Okay, I can see that both of them are there on the chat now, or on the session now. So we'll take up those questions first and then come to the topic of today. So the first question was from Revati, and there are 2 questions from her. Now, the first question itself has 2 parts. Our first question was that why at all bother creating unevolved creatures, and why this journey? Now, Revati, for this, you will have to wait a little while. We will start discussing this topic beginning today. Some part of it you will see today, but most of it will come when we discuss what is ignorance and how do you gain knowledge. So this will come up in detail. So just wait for a couple of sessions. The second part was, as humans, we seem, no, sorry, the second part of this question, why can't we all just be little bubbles of Brahman in a constant state of bliss? Now, this requires a bit of explanation. Now, to understand this, let's first look at the anatomy of unhappiness. Why are we unhappy? What causes unhappiness? Now, if you notice unhappiness, there are 2 basic causes. One cause is desire, and this other cause is fear. Now, desire, why it causes unhappiness? Because when there's a desire, it creates a bit of agitation in the mind because you want to, now you want it. There is a desire, so you want it. So it creates an agitation in the mind and initiates an action. So as long as your desire is not fulfilled, there is a bit agitation in the mind which takes away bliss, makes you a little agitated and unhappy. Then there's a struggle involved in getting desire fulfilled. That struggle creates some unhappiness. Now there are two situations. Your desire may get fulfilled, your desire may not get fulfilled. If the desire doesn't get fulfilled, it will cause frustration, anger, again unhappiness. If the desire is fulfilled, then temporarily it will give you some happiness, but then soon two things will happen. First thing is you will get the fear of losing it. Whatever you gained, you might lose it. So you start worrying about that loss. And if you actually lose it, then the pain of losing it. The second thing that happens is desire is never completely fulfilled. It's like Swami Chinmayananda gives this example of a tissue box. You pull one tissue out, the next one pops up. So desires are never ending. You fulfill one desire, it'll give you temporary happiness for a little while. Then again another desire will appear. Either the same desire will come up with a enhanced expectation, or another desire will come. So desires will never give us happiness. At the same time, it is not possible to live without desires. And that is why we have this constant happiness and happiness drama going on in our life. What to do about it, we will understand as you go along. The second cause is fear. Now, the biggest fear all of us have is that of death. The second fear is that of injury or, let's say, harm by somebody else. And the third fear we just talked about, of losing what we have. So fear of death will come only if you are limited. Desire also, let's look at one more angle from of desire. So why does desire appear? Why do we get desires? Desires come because we feel we are limited, and we want to gain more and more to make us unlimited, to make us complete, to make us fulfilled. So because we have this feeling that we are limited, desires come. Same is with fear. Because we are limited, there's always a fear of end. Limited means we had a beginning, we will have an end. So we have this fear of end that creates unhappiness. And as long as we think world is not one single entity, like we talked about Brahman being the only entity, as long as there are more than one, you will always have fear of the other. But if there is no other, there is no fear because you are the only one. Also, if you are complete, there is no desire. So the answer lies in feeling that you are infinite, you are eternal. There is no, you are the only one, which we, if you see, remember, we saw as the aspects of Brahman. And we also said that Brahman and I am one and the same. The question itself, Revati, if you notice, has the answer in it. Your question was, why can we not be blissful little bubbles? The moment you are little, you cannot be blissful. Because then you have, one is you're limited, so you want more. And secondly is, if you're a bubble, you have the fear of fear of bursting. So if you become water instead of bubble, you have lesser fear. If you become the ocean, you have lesser fear. But ocean finally is also limited. So bliss will always come by expansion. The more you become complete, the more you become infinite, the more you become eternal, bliss will come. So a little bubble can never be blissful by definition. The second question that you had was, as humans, we seem to understand the principle of Satchit, but Anand is a difficulty. Correct. You are right. Anand is the most difficult part to understand for most people, simply because we got so used to not experiencing pure bliss. We all our life, we have we've experienced some happiness, but that happiness has always been mixed with unhappiness, or happiness and unhappiness have alternated. It has never been pure, everlasting bliss. So it's very difficult to understand that concept. It takes fair bit of spiritual evolution to start experiencing it, but you can experience it for sure. There are enough examples of people in that state and who have shared the experience of theirs. Of course, the scriptures also talk about it. So there is a sure, short way to reach that stage, but it is a difficult path. Okay, coming to questions that Arun asked. Arun's first question was if Ishvara is Saguna, is it not leaning towards Dvaita? Technically speaking, you are right, Arun. The moment there are two, if there is Ishvara, then Ishvara and I cannot be the same. Why can I not be the same? Because I am limited. Ishvara is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. I don't even know what is behind my back. I cannot be omniscient like Ishvara is. Ishvara is omnipotent. I can't even control the remote for the air conditioner. So I am not all powerful. So Ishvara and I cannot be the same. So there are two. The moment there are two, there's duality. You're right. And this is where most philosophies stop. Advaita is the only philosophy that goes one step further and says, look behind Ishvara. What is Ishvara? The moment you start understanding who is Ishvara, then you see that there's one more factor beyond that, which is the only factor. Now, whether it is Dvaita philosophy, whether it is Vishishta Dvaita, whether it is Achinte Veda that ISKCON follows, or even Sankhya, Yoga, all philosophies stop at Ishvara. They unfortunately do not take the final step of going to Brahman's level. And this is where the difference between Advaita and the other philosophies are. But technically speaking, you are right. At Ishvara's level, we are in duality. Although Advaita later on will explain, we will discuss it as to how to go beyond Ishvara and understand the oneness of Brahman and me, Brahman and you. We will talk about it later. The other aspect was you're saying that if God is Saguna, then there's no difference between God and me. God will have the same desire and God will have the same anger. No. How did you define Ishvara? Omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient. He is the master of Maya. He is not a slave of Maya. I am a slave of Maya. As an individual, I am limited. I am a slave of Maya. Maya creates desire, Maya creates anger. But Ishvara is the master of Maya. So Maya does not affect Ishvara. So Ishvara does not have any of these things because Ishvara is complete. Mind you, Ishvara is nothing but Brahman with Maya expressed. So it's complete, it's infinite, it's eternal. So Ishvara has no desire, has no anger, has and not only Advaita, even Sankhya, even Yoga, they call Ishvara as a special Purusha, but a special Purusha, different from the normal individual. All philosophies draw a difference between individuals and Ishvara. Ishvara being far more powerful than individual. Individual is limited, Ishvara is unlimited. So these things do not impact Ishvara. Okay, so this was about the questions that were posed last time. Now let's come to the topic of today. So as I said, the topic of today is what is this world as per Advaita, as per Vedanta? Now you will ask a question: why do we need to know about the world? We have been seeing the world, we've been interacting with the world for decades. We know the world. What is there that we need to know? That's a legitimate question, but let us see. Do we know it all? So before we get deeper into the question, deeper into the topic, let's understand a few concepts like as we saw earlier. First is that we live in two worlds. Now you'll wonder what are these two worlds? I live in one single world. The two worlds are, one is a world that has been created by God called the natural world, the world which is all around us. You understand the natural world, the world that has been created by God. Now, everything about this world is perfect. Nothing is wrong in this world. It has been built the way it is built for a reason. What those reasons are, we will look at in subsequent sessions. Everything is rightly the way it is, whether we understand or we don't understand it, including that these so-called natural disasters that we talk about. They happen for a reason because nature finally needs to balance itself. So nature needs to take corrective actions. So this is the natural world that we all live in, and we interact with it day in and day out, every moment of our life. The second world is the world that we create, the man-created world. What is this man-created world? When we interact with this natural world, we create we create feelings, emotions, relationships with different aspects of the world, different parts of the world, different constituents of the world. So whether with objects, I start calling an object as my object, your object, I have built a relationship. Or I start liking something, I get an emotional attachment. I dislike something, I get emotional aversion. So we build a relationship of emotions and relationships with the natural world. This is my own world. I create it. My mind creates it. And if you notice, this world is different for each of us. Your world of relationships, of liking, disliking, mine is your mine, yours, etc., is completely different compared to my world. Same is the case with another person. So as many individuals, so many worlds. Which world? The man created world. So there are two worlds as you saw. Now this man created world, there is nothing right with this world. Why nothing is right with this world? One is because from spiritual point of view, it is something that distracts us from our reality, from knowing who we are really are. Because once we get involved in the world, we get distracted from reality. The second reason is this world of relationships, emotions, etc., is the cause of our suffering. All our unhappiness comes because of these relationships, emotions, mine, yours, etc., etc. So we will look at both these worlds in two different sessions. So today we will look at the natural world. We will come to samsara. Now the first world, Vedanta, that is natural world, Vedanta calls it as Jagat or Vishwa or Prapanch. Whereas the second world, it calls it as samsara. So man created world is samsara, God created world is Jagat, Vishwa or Prapancha. So this is the first concept that we need to understand. The second concept we need to understand is how to understand what is real. Now, Vedanta classifies reality in three parts. One is what we saw earlier, Sat. Sat is that reality that is real in all three periods of time. It was real in the past, it is real now, it will be real in future. There is no stage it is not, or it is not real. It is real ever. So that's one reality. It's a permanent reality. That's one reality. The second reality is something that is not real, was never real, is not real, will not be. So basically, this is something that does not exist. It never existed, doesn't exist now, will not exist later. And Vedanta calls this as asat. To take examples, all fiction is non-existent. It's a fiction of mind, creation. So like typical example given in Hindi is गधे के सर के सींग. गधे के सर पर सींग कभी नहीं हो सकते. You can never get horns on a donkey's heads or any animal, any let's say donkey type animal. So things which are never going to be, that's called asat. So it is the English for this we will use as non-existent. The English for sat we will use is real. So now we have real and we have non-existent. There is a third type of reality, and this is the most important part of reality. The we will in English we will call it as unreal. Vedanta calls it as mithya. Now, what is this? Now, this is it has two parts, two aspects. The first aspect of this is we experience it, but when we inquire into it, realize that it is not. We experience it, but once we start inquiring into it, we realize it is not. The greatest example is a mirage. In a mirage, you see water. All of us experience it. But is there water? There is no water. So it is not non-existent because we can perceive it. So it doesn't fit into asat. But it is also not real because it is actually not there. It was never there earlier there in the past. It will never there in future. Once I inquire into it, it disappears. Similarly, I see every day sun rises in the east, sets in the west. But when we inquire into it, we realize that sun doesn't move at all. But perception tells me it rises, it sets. Perception tells me earth is flat. But when we inquire into it, we realize earth is not flat, earth is round, spherical. Experience tells me that at horizon, the sky and the earth meet, but we know that it doesn't meet. So there are so many experiences that we have. We see sky as blue. There's nothing, no blue color up there. There's actually nothing up there to be blue. We see stars are tiny. We all know that stars are not tiny. Stars are even bigger than the earth. So these are experiences, perceptions that we have on a daily basis. But once we inquire into it, we realize no, that perception is wrong. It is not this way. So this is one type of unreality. And our life is full of them. The second type of unreality is something which is there but is dependent and is temporary. So if it is dependent and temporary, it was there in the past, but it's not there today, will not be there in future. Or maybe it is there today, was not there in the past, may not be there in future. So it is not real. Our definition of a real was it needs to be there in all three periods of time: past, present, and future. But this temporary or dependent thing could be there today, may not be there tomorrow, could be there today, may not have been there tomorrow, yesterday. An example that we already saw earlier was that of gold idols. Now, the Rama idol and the Hanuman idols are there today, but tomorrow those idols may not be there. Once the gold is converted into ornaments, those idols will disappear. Gold will stay. Now, if you look at this example, gold is more real than the ornament name and form is. Ornament will disappear, the ornament or the idol will disappear tomorrow, but gold will still be there. Gold was there in the past, gold will still be there tomorrow, gold is there today, even when the idols are there. But idols may disappear, ornaments may disappear. So this is a temporary, and their existence is dependent on the gold. So everything in this world that we experience, if you pay attention, fits into this category. That it is ever changing, it is impermanent, it is never constant, it is never real. It fits into this category of mithya, unreal, constantly changing, constantly, it is impermanent. So these are three ways of looking at existence in Vedanta. Mithya is going to be very relevant for us in our discussion further. So that's why it's important to understand the mithya part. Now, based on this understanding of existence, Vedanta also tells us that the, the existence itself is at three levels. Our existence as well as reality is at three levels. So one is the empirical reality, what we see around us and we transact with. And for us, it is very real. The whole world is very real because we experience it and we interact with it. Now, this is what is called transactional reality or empirical reality. In Sanskrit, it's called Vyavaharik Satta. There is another category of reality which is illusory. Take, for example, dream. In dream, I see a lot of things. And while I am in dream, I find it real. But once I come out of the dream, I realize that it was only a illusion. It never existed. So this is called subjective reality. That it is an illusion, it is delusion, it is not empirical. I cannot interact with it once I woken up, I cannot interact with my dream world. That is called in Sanskrit pratibhasik, whereas we in English we call it subjective reality. And the third reality is the one that we talked about, Sat, which is the absolute reality, which was real yesterday, will be real tomorrow, is real today. It is eternal, it is infinite. And that absolute reality is Brahman, as we discussed in the past. So there's reality at Brahman's level, there's reality at empirical level that we perceive all the time, and there's reality at illusion level. Now, the best way to understand this is a classical example that Vedanta gives us. No Vedanta discussion is complete without this example. So this example you will hear number of times from me, as well as whenever you read or hear anybody else, you will hear this example number of times. So Vedanta gives this classical example that there's a bit of darkness. It's like twilight zone. There's light, at the same time not enough light. And I see something lying on the floor, a long, uh, slightly winding thing lying on the floor. And I get a feeling it's a snake. Actually, it is a rope. It's a piece of rope lying on the floor. Because the light is not enough, I, I think it is a snake. The moment I think it is a snake, fear comes in. I start perspiring. I start running away. Is the snake real? Snake is an illusion, but I experience it. Is So seeing the snake, seeing the rope as snake, I'm actually looking at the rope, but I'm seeing that as snake. So seeing rope as snake or seeing snake in rope is illusory. That is the subjective reality or pratibhasik satta. That what is not I am seeing. So like in dream, what is not I am seeing. If enough light is thrown on the rope, you will see the rope. Now, once I see the rope, then the snake disappears. Correct? Fear also disappears. But seeing rope as rope is empirical, because that's what it is, right? It's what we experience all the time. So this is empirical reality, seeing rope as rope. What is paramarthic? What is the absolute reality? That rope, as we saw it in the beginning, that rope is also finally nothing but a name and form of Brahman. So seeing Brahman in rope is the absolute reality. So there are three things that we saw. We saw a snake, we saw a rope, and we saw Brahman. Snake is illusion. So that is the subjective reality, pratibhasik satta. Seeing rope as rope is empirical, transactional, or vyavaharik. And seeing rope as Brahman is the absolute reality, the paramarthik satta. So these are three ways of looking at everything in the world. Now, these are concepts that we need to be familiar with when we discuss what the world is. Now we will get into the discussion of what the world is. Now, Vedanta attaches the least amount of importance to the world. It attaches a lot of importance to who is God. It attaches a lot of importance to what we will discuss next. Who am I? So it attaches a lot of importance to who I am and who God is. Least amount of importance to Jagat, because Jagat, as we will realize, see later, Jagat, as per Vedanta, fits into what is called mithya. It is unreal. How it is unreal, we will see. Now, there are, depending on what level we are we at paramarthic level, are we at Vyavaharika level, or are we at illusory level? Vedanta gives many theories of the world. Now it's up to us, so that depending on what level we are at, we can accept the one that we want. So let's first take that theory where world is real. I see it, I interact with it, I transact with it, so it is real. Now this is called a doctrine of sequential manifestation, which we'll see how the manifestation happens, or called Srishti Drishti Vada. Means there is a world and I see it. Srishti is the world, Drishti is vision. So there is a world and I see it. It is also called Arambhavada. That world started at some point in time. And how it started, we will see later. Even modern science tells you the Big Bang theory that it came into existence at a certain time. And with big crunch, it will go back into dissolution. This theory is given by Vedanta for us for whom it is very difficult to understand the subtler aspects of the reality, to start from where we are right now. To start with the gross world that is in front of us and we are interacting with it and we consider it as real. So it it comes to our level and starts from there and takes us higher. So this is the first doctrine or the first theory of sequential manifestation, or theory of beginning. The second doctrine is that of a doctrine of transformation, or theory of transformation. Now, this theory says if we take the example of milk. Now, milk, if you add a little bit of curd to it, what will happen? Milk in due time will become curd. So it will transform. Now, in the theory of beginning, it starts with Brahman, and then the whole world comes out as manifestation from Brahman through Ishwar, Maya, etc. That sequence we will see in the next 10-15 minutes. So it comes out of Brahman as a real world. Brahman remains untouched, but world comes out of Brahman, still leaving Brahman untouched. But in the case of milk and curd, once curd is formed, is milk still there? Milk is not. So if we accept with this theory, then when the world is created, Brahman will be non-existent. And as we saw, Brahman is ever existent, eternal. So this doctrine or this theory is least accepted. It is a doctrine given by the Vishishtadvaita philosophy, but it is the least accepted of the theories of creation of the universe. The third theory is the theory of projection, or doctrine of projection, called Vivartavada or Drishtishrishtivada. What does this theory say? That world is as I see it. In the theory of beginning, what was it? There is a world and I see it. Whereas here, I see it, that is why there is a world. Now, if we look at even modern, let's say modern science, how does modern science explain the world? When I see something, my sensitive faculty grasps the form and the colors and sends a signal through the optic nerve to the brain, right? Brain reproduces an image of that, and the mind perceives that image which is reproduced by the brain. So what you're seeing is not the world outside. You're seeing the world that is produced by the brain inside. So you're seeing the world as it is projected by the brain. That is what Vedanta also says here, that I see the world as my mind projects it. So world may be So now when my mind projects it, the same thing, different people will look at differently. Same object, I may look at it in a certain way, you will look at another a certain other way, third person will look at another a third way. Like we saw the example of rope and snake. Somebody will look at that as snake. Someone else might look at that as a piece of pipe lying there. Another person may look at that as maybe a garland is lying there. Or another person may think that it's a mark on the floor. So there are various ways, although it is a rope, but everyone has got his or her way of projecting an image. So this is a projected world. As my mind projects it, you see the world. Now, this world is unreal because it's a projection of the mind. Correct? So if you look at our definition of mithya, although it is perceived, but it is unreal, also it will change constantly. Even I am, in my case, for example, it will change from snake to rope the moment light is there. In another case, or maybe even I, when you look at a little more closely, I may start feeling, no, it's not a snake because it's not moving. So maybe a piece of pipe. So my projection will change. So the world that keeps changing because of projection of the mind is a unreal world. And Vedanta classifies the real world as this unreal world, or it calls it mithya. Uh, Here, the example of dream is also relevant. But since I see it, although it is mithya, but I see it as very real. Why is that? Let me take an example of a dream that I saw last night. I saw a dream. I was in the forest and I suddenly realized there's a tiger behind me and it's coming towards me. So I started running. The tiger started running behind me. I ran faster, tiger ran faster, and finally, the tiger jumped. I got so scared that I woke up. And when I woke up, I realized I was sweating. It's something that can happen with anybody. We call it nightmare, correct? It can happen with anybody. Now, same example, let's take slightly differently. Oh, we'll take that a little later. So in this example, let's understand what happens. In the dream, who's me? My thoughts. Who's the tiger? My own thoughts. Where is the forest? In my mind. Who is running? I am running in my thoughts. Everything is within my mind, and every object, being, event is me alone, my own thoughts alone. There's nothing beyond that. But when I wake up, I realize it was unreal. But while I was in the dream, it was so real that it woke me up. So while I am in the dream, I feel it is real. And I feel it is so real that it wakes me up. Now, the same tiger, if we take another example, tiger was running after me and suddenly I stopped. The tiger also stopped. So I asked the tiger, are you going to eat me? The tiger said, you need to decide. You are the writer of the story. You are the author of the story. It's your dream. You want me to eat it? I eat you, I will eat you. Finally, the tiger and me are one and the same. There is no tiger, there is no me. It's all my thoughts. So this is, although we feel it is real, but it is actually unreal. But I realize that unreality only when I wake up. Till that time, it is real to me. Now, extending that to the world is exactly like that. Made up of, as we saw earlier, it is made up of Ishvara, both material cause as well as intelligent cause. I am a character in the world which is a dream of Ishvara. It's Ishvara's dream, in which I am one of the actors, one of the characters. And I find it real, more real than the dream that I saw. Why? Now, you see movies, the classical, the traditional movies, then came 3D, then came 4D, then came 5D. 3D is more real than the classical movie. 4D is even more real than 3D. 5D is even more real than 4D. The world, if we consider it to be a multi-dimensional movie, it will feel very realistic. And that's exactly what it is. It is a projection of the mind of Ishvara, but because of the power of Ishvara, it so seems so real to us that we have no doubt about it. So this is the main theory of the world by Vedanta. That world is a mithya entity, unreal entity, not real because it was not there. There was a beginning of the world. There will be an end of the world. So it was not there at a certain stage. It will not be there at another stage. It seems existent, but when you inquire into it, it is non-existent. So it is mithya as a category. The fourth doctrine, the fourth theory, is at the level of paramarthic level, that is the absolute level. Now, from the point of view of Brahman, is there a world? When we see it from Brahman's point of view, there is no world, there is only Brahman. From the perspective of the rope, is there a snake? Rope is not even aware that there is a snake. So if we look at the world from Brahman's perspective, there is no world. World is there from our perspective. This theory is the highest theory, which is not very easy to grasp. So we are not going to look at that as a theory. This is something for us to consider when we are really involved in spirituality. And this is called Ajatavada, that there is no world. World is only a illusion. That there is actually no world. Nothing in the world. There is only Brahman. So for the time being, let us only know that there is a theory called Ajatavada, which is at a very high level. So we will, for the time being, not talk about it. Now let us come back to our theory of either beginning or theory of projection. So in both cases, a world appears either as a real world or as a projected world. How does this real world or the projected world come about? Now, the process given by Vedanta here is a sequential process. Now let's go back to what we learned about Brahman and Ishvara. So there's Brahman as the only entity. Then Brahman, as we said earlier, just cause a singer has the talent, the singer sings. The same way Brahman just expresses its power of Maya, and Maya becomes manifest. Maya is the creative power, becomes manifest. So we have now, after Brahman, we have Maya, and then we start calling Brahman as Ishvara. So now we have Ishvara, which is Brahman and Maya. Maya is expressed power. Maya is the matter principle. Maya is the total matter. So the world comes out of Maya. We said earlier that Jagat, the world comes out of Ishvara. Ishvara is the both material cause as well as the efficient cause. The Maya aspect of Ishvara. So Maya aspect is the matter. Ishvara is the intelligence factor. So the efficient cause, the intelligent cause is Brahman in Ishvara, and the material cause is the Maya aspect of Ishvara. Now, what is the why does Ishvara, why does Vedanta call world as Jagat? There's a meaning to it. The word Jagat, word Jagat means Jagati Sarati Iti Jagat, means the one that keeps changing constantly is Jagat. So by definition itself, it is something that keeps changing constantly. And by our definition of reality, we can see that that which keeps changing constantly is unreal, mithya, not absolute real. Absolute real will have no change. It was there, it will be there, it is there in the same form as a permanent entity. Now, since this comes out of Maya, and we mentioned last time that Maya has three gunas: sattva, rajas, and tamas. So the world and everything in the world has these three gunas of sattva, rajas, and tamas. How Vedanta explains the sequential manifestation of the world, as also discussed earlier, there's nothing called creation. It is manifestation. So from in Maya, it is the world is in unmanifest form and gets manifested. When it manifests, how does it happen? So from Maya first comes out a subtle principle called Akasha or ether or space. Now at this stage, it is not the Akasha that we know of. At this stage, it is a subtle principle. Vedanta calls it a tanmatra, that it is not the gross Akasha. It is the Akasha principle, the very subtle principle. And the attribute, it has an attribute. It has only one attribute. And the attribute it has is that of sound. Now, you don't normally associate space with sound, right? But I think this audio or video is available on the net also. NASA tried to understand space, and they realized that there is a certain vibration taking place in the space, and they tried to condense it to a frequency that can be perceived by human beings. And when they condensed it to a level where human perception is possible, they found that that vibration has the sound exactly the same as what we call Om. The vibration of the space, when condensed to perceptible level, sounds like Om. Now this is possible now because NASA has tried this and possibly they've been able to reach there. But Vedanta says this right from the beginning that in Akasha there is a sound. So the only attribute that Akasha has is sound. From Akasha comes the next subtle principle called Vayu. Vayu is air, the air principle, not air, the gross air, not the physical air, the air principle. Now, because it comes out of Akasha, it has the attribute of Akasha, which is sound. But air has its own unique attribute, which attribute is that of touch. So attribute from space, which is sound, and its own attribute called touch. Air has attributes. From there comes out another principle called fire, Agni. So Agni borrows these two principles from Vayu, that is sound and touch, and its own new principle, and its own unique attribute is form, form or color, form and color. So Agni has three attributes: sound, touch, and form and color. From Agni comes out another subtle principle called the water principle. Now, water has three principles borrowed from Agni, and its own unique attribute is taste. So water has four attributes: sound, touch, form, and taste. And the fifth element that comes out of water, subtle element, is earth principle, Prithvi. Four attributes are borrowed from water. Fifth attribute of its own is of.
I think we lost him. He'll come back.
Yeah, I think I got disconnected when I was talking about the earth element. Ajay, can you confirm? Did you all lose me when I was talking about the earth element?
I can hear now. So just repeat the last sentence of Earth again, so
When
people
I
are
got
on the same.
disconnected, was I talking about the earth?
Towards Earth, yeah.
Okay.
Start with Earth
So,
again.
yeah. So earth as a subtle element comes out of water. So it has four attributes that water has, plus it has its own unique attribute of smell, fragrance. Earth can be smelt. So earth has five attributes. So this is how sequentially five subtle elements are born. Now these five subtle elements are the building blocks of the universe. Mind you, they are in the subtle form. So they are building blocks of the universe. Now, as manifestation progresses, from the sattva aspect of these subtle elements, as I said, there are three gunas that each of them have, everything has. So these five elements also have three gunas. From the sattva guna of these elements are born five subtle sensory functions. The functions through which the faculties that through which we perceive. So from the sattva aspect of space is born the hearing faculty, the faculty of hearing. It's called Shrotrendriya. From the sattvic aspect of Vayu, air, is born the faculty of touch. From the sattvic aspect of fire is born the faculty of vision. From the sattvic aspect of water is born the faculty of taste. And from the sattvic aspect of earth element is born the faculty of smell. So, five sense faculties are born out of the sattvic aspects of each of these five subtle elements. So now we have five subtle elements and we have five sense faculties. All these are subtle. From the sattvic aspect of all the five elements put together are born a four-part set of inner instruments, which is called Antahakarana. Vedanta calls it Antahakarana. That is, of all the five elements put together, the sattvic aspect of all the five elements put together is born a four-part Antakarana. What are these four parts of the Antakarana? First part is mind, what we call, uh, generally also called mind. Mind is that one which takes the signal from the sensory faculty and tries to decipher what is it. But it is not able to decipher, so it keeps debating. Is it this? Is it that? The second aspect of the second part of this antakarana is buddhi or intellect. Intellect is the one that can decide, that determines. So it is determinative. So that aspect of the antakarana that decides or that can determine is called intellect. The third aspect of the antakarana, third part of the antakarana is memory. called chitta. And the fourth, the most important and the most problematic part of the Antakarana is what is called ahamkara in Sanskrit, means the sense of individuality, the sense of I-ness, I, me. Now this is sense of individuality born in this antakarana. Antakarana generally is known as mind. All these four together also are known as mind, although mind is also part of it, but mind being the main part of it. All these four are also generally loosely known as mind. So mind has four parts: mind itself, intellect, memory, and this sense of individuality. So now we have this antakarana, which is a four-part antakarana. This is born from the sattvic aspect of all the five subtle elements. The From the rajasic aspect, the rajasa guna of the subtle elements are born five action faculties. So from the rajas aspect of space is born the faculty of speech. From the rajas aspect of air is born the faculty of grasping, or what you call hands. From this rajas aspect of fire is born the locomotion faculty, motor faculty, or legs as organs, as you call it. From the rajas aspect of water is born the reproductive faculties. And from the rajas aspect of earth is born the excretion faculty. So we have five action faculties: speech, grasping, locomotion, procreation, and excretion. So these are the five subtle faculties of action. All these are at subtle level. Similarly, at the subtle level, there are also five physiological functions or faculty that are born. These are from the rajas aspect of all the five elements put together. So the rajas aspect of all five elements put together gives rise to five physiological functions. One is respiration, second is excretion, third is digestion, fourth is circulation, and fifth is reversal function. That is like vomiting or expiration. So these are the physiological faculties born out of these same subtle elements put together. Now, all these are at the subtle level. So there are, as you can see, five physiological functions, five action faculties, and five sensory faculties, and four parts of mind. 19 faculties are born from these elements, the sattvic aspect and rajasic aspect. Right? These 19 put together are called the subtle world, the subtle prapancha, the sukshma prapancha or subtle world. From these subtle elements are also born five gross elements. Now, the difference between subtle element and gross element is gross element can be perceived. Subtle element cannot be perceived. So the same subtle elements, through a grossification process, become gross elements, and then they become perceptible by the sense faculties that we talked about earlier. So these are the five akasha, that is space, air, fire, water, earth, 5 gross elements which are born out of the 5 subtle elements at a gross level. There's a process of grossification which I'm not spending time to explain to you. It is there in the books. I'm not taking the time to explain that to you. So now with this 5 gross elements are born, which can be perceived by us. So we can perceive air, we can perceive water, we can perceive earth, we can perceive fire, we can perceive, so to say, space. So these gross elements are born. Now all these 19 plus these 5, 24 elements put together create the world. At the total level, they create the world. At individual level, they create different beings and objects. Let's just take a little bit of example. So if only gross elements are put together, we get inert objects. There are because those objects, only gross elements have been combined together, so they are inert. None of the sense faculties are there, none of the action faculties are there, none of the physiological functions are there, and none of the mind functions are there. If these gross elements are at a very minute level combined with the subtle functions, then you get organisms which are very basic organisms, which have gross element, but a very basic level of the subtle elements. From there, if we notice in the world, there are various levels of sentiency, which is progressively more and more of the subtle faculties and functions added to the gross elements. So from basic organisms to plants, to amphibians, to insects, to birds, to animals, to human beings. Human being is the only, let's say, uh, being in whom all the gross faculties, all the gross elements, and all the subtle faculties are fully available. And that is why human being is called the supreme creation of the world. That in human being, all these subtle faculties and all the gross elements are fully present, and human being is able to express that. But from one individual to another individual, the ratio could still vary. So somebody may have more of intellect and less of mind. Somebody may have more of mind and less of intellect. Somebody's digestion may be strong, circulation may not be strong. Somebody's sense of perception sense of vision may be very strong. Somebody's sense of hearing may be very strong. So depending on the ratio of these faculties, individual specimens will still be different in each of these hierarchies. But that creates a variety of objects and beings, and that put together is the universe. So as we traditionally hear, there are 84 crore or 840 million different species of organism in this universe, created by combinations and permutations of these different gross and subtle elements. This is how Vedanta explains creation of this universe, unlike the Big Bang theory of modern science. So it did not come all about in one bang, but they came about sequentially. Now, if we trace them back to origin, they all come from a single source, which is Brahman. From Brahman comes Maya. From Maya comes all these. So they must have the attributes or the aspects of Brahman present in them, of Maya present in them. So all of them have all the aspects of Brahman and all the aspects of Maya present in them. Manifest or not is a different matter. Some may be manifest, some may not be manifest, but they are present. So every single object, every single being is the same at one level. Now, I can understand a lot of information in one session. So you will need some time to think about it. And I'm sure there'll be lots of questions. So, like last time, you are most welcome to post those questions on the chat, and we will try and tackle them next time. Right? We have already exceeded the limit of the time. So today we'll end the session at this. Next time, related to world, there are two more aspects we will talk about as to where did it all begin? How did it all begin? And also touch upon briefly what decides the why is it like this? Why did God decide to create these kind of elements, these subtle elements, subtle faculties? Why is it created like in this manner? Why not in a completely different manner? So we'll just about touch upon that and then go to the next topic. Who am I? Which is an important topic. As I said, Jagat is a complicated issue, not very relevant from our perspective, but it is good to understand and good to know about it. And my apologies for this unstable connection because I'm in a place where the network is a challenge. So I hope I could still be heard. Okay, so we'll end today's sessions with the same prayer as we did last time. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Hari Om to
Thank
all.
you, everyone.
Thank you very much. So nice of you. God bless you.
Thank you, sir.